And to even think that you can break it down second by second is just mind-boggling to me.
Right. And this all comes from the policy called launch on warning, right? America has a policy called launch on warning. It's exactly as it sounds. Said differently, it means that when the Defense Department learns a nuclear missile is on the way to the United States from an enemy country or enemy rogue state, it could be, then the Defense Department moves into the second by second protocols to launch on warning. The president gets advised right around minute 4 or 5. We do not wait to absorb the blow, right? We don't wait to let's wait and see how many people die in that nuclear strike. That's not what policy says in the United States. It says we launch on warning. And so the first warning is the first fraction of a second. I write about the remarkably advanced satellite systems that the Defense Department has in space, built by Lockheed. It's called SBIRS, the Space-Based Infrared System of Satellites. They can detect the launch, the hot rocket exhaust on the launch of a nuclear missile in under 1 second. And it begins from there.
The book, it stresses the urgency of this matter. Now, you've touched on this already. You said that you've used that quote, the scenario could happen tomorrow, or it could happen later today. It could happen as soon as we get off this podcast, or even whilst we're on this podcast. I think for many people, especially when when recent wars have happened and the conversations around nuclear war were trending on Twitter, a lot of people, like I said earlier, either choose to ignore it or they think to themselves, well, I'm safe right now. This is, a scary problem, but it's down the line. Just how sudden could it happen? As we're mentioning there, it could happen later today. And are we living through the warning right now for a potential nuclear war?
All valid and significant questions. And they all sort of have yeses and they all sort of have caveats. Okay. So, right. Yes, the saber rattling is as terrifying as it's ever been. You have Vladimir Putin saying that he has not taken nuclear weapons off the table, not taken weapons of mass destruction off the table. That is horrifying. North Korea recently accused the United States of trying to incite a nuclear war on the peninsula. That is terrifying. The UN Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, said that, we're all one misstep, one misunderstanding away from a nuclear annihilation. Okay. So the threat is there, but in fact, it has always been there. Is it more right now? Is it less? Well, if nuclear war were to begin, we are not going to be having that debate. The reason why I wrote the book and believe it's important to have this conversation goes back to, okay, what actually could be done. And while it's not my job, and I would never try to make it my job to spearhead, action. I'm not an activist. I'm a journalist. But I remember very clearly being in high school and seeing in 1983 a television show called The Day After. And it showed in graphic detail what would happen were a nuclear war to take place between the United States and the Soviet Union. You're too young, right? But anyone of my generation saw it. And many people read my book and say, oh my God, I had the same feeling that I had when I watched that horrific TV show. Well, what happened after the TV show? We know from President Reagan's memoirs, he was deeply depressed. Literally, he wrote that. So what did he do? He picked up the phone and called Gorbachev. And 2 years later, they met at Reykjavik and they had a arms reduction treaty, which significantly lowered the weapons, significantly lowered the threat, and thereby brought everybody's attention to this issue, which is, oh my God, we cannot have a nuclear war. People cannot even be talking about such a thing. And I believe that in the decades since that, people have been mesmerized into thinking that threat wasn't real, including some of my octogenarian sources back, 10 years ago when this threat was not what it is now. But there are 9 nuclear-armed nations on the planet, not just 2 anymore.
If you don't mind me asking, if you can recount, what are those 9?
So there's US and Russia, and then there's China. China has about 500 weapons, right? And the recent prediction by the Defense Department is that in 10 years, they will have 1,500. They are building nuclear weapons. Then there's India and Pakistan. Then is the UK and France. Then there is Israel, and then there is North Korea.
Yeah.
That makes 9. Some of those countries are in direct conflict with one another.
Yeah.